Welcome back, everybody, to Cover 1 Week 6 edition. I'm your host, James Bouligny. We have a bunch of good games to get to. We also have a lot of bye weeks. Before we get really into it, though, we've got to thank my co-hosts, Ryan Chadwick.
How's it going, guys?
Paul Harris.
Hey, what's up, James?
And special host, Nick Thompson from Lubbock.
What's going on, y'all?
All right. Before we get into it, really, got to thank our title sponsor, Whataburger.
Whataburger's Buffalo Ranch Chicken Strip Sandwich is back.
Chicken strips. Chicken strips. Chicken strips.
Ranch.
Ranch.
Buffalo Ranch. Monterey Jack cheese.
The Whataburger Buffalo Ranch Chicken Strip Sandwich. A beautiful masterpiece.
All right, Central has a bye week this week, so Chadwick's not going to have anything to talk about. But we do have Wall and Idalou. That's where our guy Paul Harris is going. Let's talk about it. Paul.
Yeah, I mean, this is an awesome game. Of course, Wall's had just 6 tough games in a row. This will be the last non-district test for them. These two programs, I mean, Idalou's had one losing season in 34 years. Wall hasn't had a losing season in 16 years. So two of the more consistent programs you're going to find. Both teams are 4-1. Wall really took off last week with their passing game, so that was exciting to see them really take flight for the first time with that new spread offense. Landon York had over 300 passing yards, and this will be a great test for Wall before they head into district play.
All right, Ryan.
See, on the other side of that, Idalou comes into this matchup 4-1. They lost a very tough game to Shallow Water last week, but up until that point, they were undefeated, and they pretty much were running through everybody besides Lubbock Cooper Liberty in week 1 or 2. But this should be a good matchup. It could even be a possible playoff future matchup. Wall and Idalou have played each other in the playoffs before, and I wouldn't be surprised if it comes back around. But otherwise, this should be a great game.
Yeah, we talked about that. Paul and I talked about that earlier in the week. Was 2 years ago they matched up in the playoffs in the third round, and Wall beat him 30-0, and then went and played Canadian, and we all know how that turned out.
That game was I think that game was at Sweetwater.
It was at Sweetwater, yeah. It was like
I
rainy and cold, and
yeah.
But before we get any further, we gotta thank our next sponsor, Angelo Bolt. Ryan.
Since 1994, Angelo Bolt and Industrial Supply has served the Concho Valley for 30 years and counting. Angelo Bolt is a go-to place for fasteners, power tools, air compressors, safety equipment, and everything in between. Chances are Angelo Bolt will always have what you need when you need it, and in that odd chance that they don't have exactly what you're looking for, they'll find it fast. No request is too big or too small for Angelo Bolt, located at 808 Warehouse Road, where customer service is our top priority. Thank you, Angelo Bolt, for bringing us our coverage of all things Concho Valley.
Ryan, you sound so good reading that. You need to come in the studio and let me go out in the field sometime.
Oh, yeah? You going to go up to Lubbock for me, man?
Sure. All right. Speaking of Lubbock, we have Lubbock Coronado and Lubbock Monterey. Our man, Nick, you've been watching these teams. You've been up there in Lubbock. What does this game look like to you?
Looks like a good rivalry matchup. It's a good Lubbock ISD 4A matchup. Both teams are 1-4, Coronado and Monterey. Coronado's offense last week looked strong. Their defense seems to be their issue, though. Coronado almost had 200 more yards than Tascosa, but the score being 29-16, they just need to turn those yards into points. Demarion Finch run for 105 yards. Isaiah Vasquez threw for 322 with 12.5 yards per attempt. This team looks strong on offense. It's just that defense kind of tends to just hold back a little bit, it seems like. On the other hand, though, Monterey took a hit at home against Amarillo on Friday. According to Max Preps, this was their 7th consecutive loss to the Sandies, actually. So, but QB Luke Arrington looks pretty confident. Seems to hesitate on certain passes, but with Coronado's defense kind of losing gas in that second half, the Plainsmen could come out with this one with the win, and I personally think it might be a shootout. So,
Ron, what do you think?
So, Nick, both of these schools are 1-4, but they're not the exact same 1-4 records. Lubbock Monterey has gone through an absolute gauntlet in their non-district, and of course they dropped their first game to Amarillo High, district game that is, to Amarillo High. Like, who's really favored in this one? And I know you're a Coronado alumni, so I know who you're going to be picking in this one. But is this game even going to be that close?
I don't think so. I think Monterey's going to, like you said, they've been through a gauntlet. I think they're going to be pretty much a powerhouse in this game. Coronado just seems to do good. They start off strong, and then that halftime performance, after that flip, they just kind of hold back a little bit. I just think that, like you said, with how tough Monterey's schedule is, Coronado seems to be kind of an easy team on the remaining schedule.
All right. Paul, we got Bronte, Robert Lee. This is the Battle of Coke County, right?
That's right. Yeah, these two teams just 12 miles apart. It's one of the oldest rivalries in Texas. I think it's the 109th meeting between them.
It's a long time.
Yeah, and the only time it got broken up was when Bronte had dropped a six-man before Robert Lee did. And even then, they had gotten together and played a six-man game one time with Robert Lee just trying to keep the rivalry going, you know.
I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. But so it's great that this rivalry is going again. You know, Robert Lee's a big favorite in this game. Brenner Sherwood has been putting up monster numbers, so hopefully Bronte can keep it interesting and it can be a good rivalry game.
Right. And Ryan, what about Brownfield and Lubbock Christian?
Okay, so we're bringing you some private school Texas high school football action this week during the bye week, so it's like we get a chance to branch out a little bit and cover a few more schools. Now, Brownfield enters this matchup 0-5 on the year. They've been in some games, but most of the time they just kind of get blown out. It's a rough year for the Cubs, and I know that they got some work to do. On the other side of that, Lubbock Christian is 4-1. They've been playing surrounding schools around them with victories in most of those matchups. I do think Lubbock Christian has the edge in this one, but hey, this could be the week that Brownfield finally puts it together and gets that win number 1.
All right, and our last game we're going to be at is San Angelo, TLCA, and Grape Creek. In San Angelo matchup here, TLCA has had a rough go of things. They had a large graduating class last year. They moved up to 3A D1, and they have just a young team, new head coach, and they haven't been able to really put much together this year. I think they put up like three touchdowns. Isn't that right, Paul?
That's right. They've had a tough start.
They've had a tough start, and you know, Grape Creek has been competitive. They have been in some games. You know, they were down big against Bangs earlier in the season, like down 28-0 at half, and then came back and won that game. And you know, Grape Creek's going to be playing hard in this one, and this is for. I mean, this is pretty much the only other game in San Angelo that's close, right? So this is going to be a really, really good matchup. Moving on, I got to pay some bills. For any banking needs, go to Texas Bank. Proven, local, and strong style customers refer to Texas Bank, one of the most successful banks in the Lone Star State. Texas Bank is a full-service bank with over $2 billion in assets, and they operate in 16 locations from El Paso to Dallas-Fort Worth, including 3 right here in San Angelo, located at 2201 Sherwood Way, 1815 North Chadburn, and 4206 College Hills. Texas Bank staff are your friends, family, and neighbors. All right, we're moving on to Players of the Week. We have 4 really, really great players who played out of their minds. Ryan, you want to start this off?
Yeah, so we have a returner to this list, and he played so well we just couldn't ignore him.
You pretty much leave him on this list at this point.
Seriously, like he played outstanding last week, even though his team ended up losing.
We're going to talk about that.
But we're talking about Miles wide receiver Cooper Ellison. The young man just absolutely went off. He had 12 receptions for 235 yards and 4 touchdowns. I don't care what level of ball you play. Anytime you put up numbers like that, that's going to get college scouts' attention. Now, Cooper Ellison has put up several games this year with over 100 yards receiving, but this one really, he put the team on his back, and he put his team in a position to win. So, congratulations to Cooper Ellison.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that one later. J.C. Galindo from El Dorado. He had 19 carries for 113 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. He added 2 catches for 89 yards and a touchdown. You know, El Dorado, sneaky down there in Steiker County. You know, they don't get a whole lot, and they've been playing really good football this year. Going to the Runnels County, Bryce Lopez from Ballinger, back to Runnels County, I guess. He had 12 catches for 170 yards and 1 touchdown. And then Landon York. Ryan, you want to talk about Landon real quick?
So in this new revamped Wall spread offense, the Wall Hawks quarterback went 24 for 37 for 321 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, while those numbers seem pretty normal for a spread quarterback, it's important to note that this is the first game that Wall's new spread offense has produced spread offense numbers like that. So Wall was down big at halftime against Sweetwater, and they just completely came back and blew them out in the second half. So had a little bit of Wildcat action in that matchup too, so that was pretty neat. But Landon York absolutely went off through the air.
All right. Got to pay some more bills real quick, and we'll be right back.
$38,999 for a full-size truck. Right now, get a 24 Ford F-150 for only $38,999. This truck has blind spot sensors, rear view camera, 12-inch screen, lane assist, 36-gallon fuel tank, and much more. You can only get deals like this at Jim Bass Ford, Houston Hart and Arden Road, or 24/7 at bassbus.com, or you can use this QR code right here. It's on the other side, isn't it?
All right, Ryan, it's your favorite segment to talk about college football. You love talking about your Texas Tech Red Raiders for some reason, so go ahead and talk about them taking on Arizona.
All right, so the Texas Tech Red Raiders come off a thrilling victory that went down to the wire, 44-41 over Cincinnati at home last week. It was a game where the Red Raiders could basically do no wrong on offense, while that opportunistic, really young defense took advantage of the opportunities that Cincinnati gave them to pretty much turn the game in their favor. At one point, Tech was trailing 14-3, but ended up taking a 10-point lead headed into the fourth quarter. Now, Cincinnati did have one final attempt to tie the game as time expired, but missed a 48-yard field goal to lose 44-41. Now, in this game, Taj Brooks put up another monster performance for the Red Raiders. He had another 177 yards, got in the end zone twice. He's one of the best backs in the nation, and I don't think anyone can argue that at this point, and that's with him missing a game. He's still in the top 10 in rushing. He is, I know I said last week he was in fourth place. He was in fifth place last week. Now he's in fourth place all time on the Red
Chadwick
Raiders
was wrong
rushing list, and he only needs 53 yards to move into that number 3 spot this week. Headed on the road for this road match against Arizona. It's Joey McGuire, head coach Joey McGuire's record on the road, especially in the Big 12, isn't great, but I think this is the week that the Red Raiders can take that next step and get a win. With that being said, Arizona comes off a win over the Big 12 favorites. Utah went to their house and just beat the brakes off them. So Arizona's 1-0 in the Big 12. Texas Tech is 2-0 in the Big 12. Tech really needs this win to basically solidify saying, hey, we aren't that same team that lost to Washington State. We're here and we're not going anywhere, because right now no one's really giving them much credence because of the first 2 weeks of the season. But they come off two really, really excellent back-to-back Big 12 wins, and hopefully they can go 3-0 after this week.
All right, and we also have Angelo State at UTPB. Paul.
Yeah, so this is a huge game for the Rams. You know, they're 2-0 in conference because they beat the two New Mexico schools, which they were favored to do. If they're going to be serious about winning a conference title, they've got to beat UTPB, who's the defending conference champ. They beat ASU 28-23 last year. You know, I talked to Coach Gersh earlier this week, and he had just a ton of good things to say about UTPB's offense. They bring back the receiver of the year in the conference. He said they have a ton of receivers. They hit the transfer window hard, and so that's going to be an awesome matchup as UTPB's offense versus ASU's secondary, led by Andrew Pitts, who's got 3 interceptions this year. So, you know, we'll see what happens. If the Rams are going to win a conference title, this is a game they really need to win.
All right, let's pay some bills real quick. The ArcLight Bar and Grill. The ArcLight Bar and Grill has the largest video wall in the region, and it's right here in San Angelo at the ArcLight, located at 441 Rio Concho Drive. Saturday's college game day was never this good. The ArcLight Bar and Grill inside the Clarion Hotel at 441 Rio Concho Drive. All right, we got to get to picks real quick. Chadwick, you want to go ahead and start off with Idalou and Wall?
Before we get to that, let's just go ahead and talk about the overall records real quick, because
Hooray.
Paul and I have some bragging rights after last week. Both of us went 5-0. So all I'm going to say is, Paul, you can brag all you want. Me and you are clearly at the top of this picking pool at this point. I am 20-5 overall. Paul's sitting at 17-8. Nick and Scott are really close there at 13-12 and 14-11. Lucas is at 15-10. And poor James and Ernesto, they're way down there at 11-14 and 10-15 respectively. So guys, be better.
Yeah, Chadwick, you got it.
Anyway, so we got Idalou at Wall. This one is pretty much across the board. Everyone's going Wall, it looks like, in this one. I do think that Idalou has a chance, and I think Nick went Idalou in this one, but definitely favored on the Wall side.
All right, we're moving on to Lubbock, Coronado, and Lubbock, Monterey. Two rivals clash in town, in Lubbock. And like Nick said, Monterey's probably going to take this one. So far, we've got Monterey, Chadwick's picking Monterey, Paul's picking Monterey. Nick and I are picking Coronado. Luke's picking Coronado. Ernesto's picking Monterey, and Scott's picking Coronado. Nick, did I mess up your pick?
No. Oh, yes, you did. I actually did pick Monterey. I am a Coronado alum, but I'm going to go with Monterey this week.
All right, that's Chadwick's fault because he put the picks in.
You put Coronado when you sent it to me, bud.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to Robert Lee Chadwick.
All right, this one across the board. Sorry, Bronte fans, if you were looking for any upsets, it's not going to come this week. Everyone here on the Cover One crew is going Robert Lee.
All right, and moving on to Brownfield and Lubbock Christian. Chadwick went Lubbock Christian. I went Lubbock Christian. Paul went Lubbock Christian. Nick went Lubbock Christian. Lucas went Lubbock Christian. Ernesto went Brownfield, and Scott went Lubbock Christian. And then into San Angelo TLCA and Grape Creek, Chadwick, myself, Paul, Nick, Ernesto, and Scott all went Grape Creek, and Lucas went TLCA in that one.
Lucas got some belief in the Eagles.
All right, final thoughts.
They're both Eagles.
Final thoughts, Chadwick.
All right, so there is another pretty interesting district matchup happening at Lowry Field this week up there in Lubbock, and it's going to be Amarillo-Tascosa versus Lubbock High. Now, Lubbock High is riding a 3-game win streak. It's the first time that they've done that since the early 2000s. The first time they've been 3-1 since, I think it was like the 80s. Correct me, Nick. You talked to Coach Rodriguez on that one.
Oh, he's already gone.
Oh, he's already gone?
My bad.
Well, anyway, it was back in the 80s or something like that. It's been a long time since the Westerners have had a start this good. Tascosa has shown that you can run the ball against him. Coronado proved that last week. But Tascosa's defense took advantage of the penalties and turnovers and really turned that game around. So if Lubbock High wants to win this one, they got to take care of the ball and they got to control the clock.
All right, Paul, you got Lakeview and Burnett.
Yeah, Lakeview heading to the Hill Country. They're often, like in West Texas, they're up in the South Plains. So it's the first time they've ever played Burnett. Lakeview's offense has kind of came back to earth a little bit. They were really flying high, and they've struggled a little bit. Their sophomore quarterback's kind of hit some of his first bumps in the road. And the defense, has really struggled to kind of give their offense a chance. So this is the third straight road game for Lakeview. We'll see if they can, try to get back on track this week. And I wanted to mention, too, another Tom Green County school, Water Valley at Rankin. That should be a really awesome six-man game. Two of the better six-man teams in West Texas for sure. So wish it was in Water Valley, but we'll see how they do.
All right. That's all we have for you today. For James Bouligny, for Nick Thompson, for Ryan Chadwick and Paul Harris, this has been Cover 1 Week 6. Join us at halftime for the scores update. See you then.
Whataburger's Buffalo Ranch Chicken Strip Sandwich is back.
Chicken strips. Chicken strips. Chicken strips.
Ranch.
Ranch.
Buffalo. Ranch. Monterey Jack cheese.
The Whataburger Buffalo Ranch Chicken Strip